We've got more bankruptcies going on in crypto. It just seems like for the past year, it's been the story of everything crypto, right? Crypto bankruptcies, crypto companies collapsing. That's been the entire story of what's been going on. But now we've got one of the biggest ones, someone under the DCG umbrella. It's Genesis filing bankruptcy. They are big into like Gemini Earn. That's how Gemini uses their program through Earn, so they're going to be affected, and they have tons of other creditors that are going to be affected who have tens of millions of dollars with them. And just a summary of kind of like what's going on here. You got the lender Genesis filed for bankruptcy late on Thursday. Also, the SEC is filing a suit against Genesis and Gemini over unregistered sale of securities. And you have Genesis halted withdrawals on November 16th. So it's been quite a while for these withdrawals to be halted. Everyone kind of expected this to happen. You know, it was just a matter of time. Kind of the same thing with when Celsius went bankrupt, they froze withdrawals. Voyager, when they froze withdrawals, everyone kind of reacts when they freeze them, and when they go bankrupt, it's kind of an expected thing. And the interim CEO came out and talked on this, saying, well, we have made significant progress refining our business plans to remedy liquidity issues caused by the recent extraordinary challenges in our industry. An in-court restructuring presents the most effective avenue through which to preserve assets and create the best possible outcome for all Genesis stakeholders, which is kind of crazy. That's what everybody says, right? It's the extraordinary circumstances in crypto. Bitcoin went down in price. It's like, it's not that. It's not because Bitcoin went down in price that your business went bankrupt. It's because you ran a terrible business. Kind of what happens every single cycle. When you go look at Bitcoin specifically for Bitcoin miners, the miners who are actually good businesses make it through bear markets. The miners who are not good businesses collapse during bear markets, and everything gets more efficient for it. So simply blaming the crypto market, saying it got way too volatile and it bankrupted us, not really true. You were not prepared for that. You took too many steps. You over leveraged yourself. You did something to put yourself in that position. And if you want to look at the creditors that Genesis has going on, there's a list here. I think these are the top 50 creditors, and you can see quite a bit of money going on here. Millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars if you added everything up. You can see this is the top 50, so quite a few people in these right here for creditors. So there's a lot of people who are going to be out money because Gemini obviously doesn't have, or Genesis doesn't have the money for their liabilities. Something's going to go wrong there. And who are the big losers here? Maybe Gemini ends up being one of the biggest here if this affects their overall business. I talked about it before, Gemini being down like $900 million to Genesis. I think Cameron Winklevoss put out a tweet as an open letter to Barry. They're feuding. They don't like each other at all. And this might come back to really haunt Gemini of getting in business with Genesis. The best case scenario for Gemini themselves would be, this not to flow over. If the Earn program is the only one affected, obviously that's going to hurt their business. That's going to turn customers away. And an ordinary customer who's going to look at this and say, people lost their money going with Gemini, I'm staying away, even if it doesn't affect their regular custody business or even their exchange business. Customers are just not going to want to go there for sake of the name carrying a problem with it. And Cameron Winklevoss of the Winklevoss twins, he put out a Twitter thread here talking about what's going on, saying, an Earn update this evening, Genesis Global Capital filed for bankruptcy under Chapter 11 is a crucial step towards us being able to recover your asset. So that sounds good, seems like a great thing, but in reality, how long can this take? How much money could they get back? We've already seen Celsius, what's going on there? Nobody knows. Voyager, what's going on there? Nobody knows. All these bankrupt companies, nobody really knows what's going on. So to say this is the first step to recover your assets sounds good. Partially true. You might get part of your assets back or your money back, but you're probably going to lose quite a bit of your money, and it's going to take a insanely long time. And he talks about too trying to negotiate with Barry and DCG, and says the good news is that by seeking protection of the bankruptcy court, Genesis will be subject to judicial oversight and required to provide discovery into the mechanisms that brought us to this point. Yeah, that's true. Obviously, we get more of a insight into what went wrong. And, if they just come out and say they're running a Ponzi scheme, I mean, that's not going to make anyone feel better. It's probably going to make the whole thing worse. And then they also say that they have a decision to put Genesis into bankruptcy. It doesn't insulate Barry or DCG and any other wrongdoers from accountability. So if you don't know, Barry is the CEO of DCG I believe. I'm almost positive. But DCG is it's digital currency group, and they own Genesis, which is the bankrupt company going bankrupt. They also own Grayscale. They own a multitude of companies in this crypto space. They're a super big umbrella like company. So they own a lot, and they might actually be insulated from stuff like this. That's like a big point of the corporate structuring, right? DCG is separate from Genesis, is separate from Grayscale. That's why it's not one company. It's structured as three under the DCG umbrella. So, it sounds good to say they're not insulated and say you're going to go after them. I think that's going to be really hard to do. And there's a lot of bad blood between Cameron and I would say both the Winklevi twins, probably, but them and Barry DCG. Obviously, the Earn program, them letting down their customers. You can see here they've said they're preparing to take legal action against Barry and DCG and others who share responsibility for the fraud that caused harm to the 340,000 plus Earn users and others duped by Genesis. So that's already a big number. Like we said before, this is 340,000 people who are going to have a bad taste in their mouth about Gemini. Even if you have a warning, and before you go into the Earn program, they tell you a warning, and they try and put all of their liabilities aside, it is still going to leave a bad taste in customers' mouths, and they're going to talk about that. And the headline is going to be customers lose money at Gemini, not going in depth and everything. So people are going to look at this and say, I'm not going with Gemini. I'm staying far away. People lost money there. It would kind of be like if Mt. Gox came back today. Mt. Gox collapsed and lost so much of people's money, and they've been waiting a decade for their money to try and get anything back, and they have slight hope now. But if Mt. Gox came back and started operating again, I don't think a lot of people would be super keen to go over there and start using them. Even FTX, if FTX came back, I don't think a lot of people would be super excited to start putting their hard-earned money into that exchange. Even if it was 100% legit and you said nothing is going to go wrong from here, you still think back and say, people, it did go wrong before, they don't want anything to do with it. And we got Winklevi saying, Barry and DCG have to come to their senses and make a fair offer to creditors, and would be filing a lawsuit against Barry and DCG imminently. So that sounds good. Again, going after these guys, saying they're doing it for their customers. They're doing it for them at the end of the day, but it would be nice to try and get the people's money back. I don't know how much money Genesis has. Obviously, if they're declaring bankruptcy, they probably don't have enough or anywhere near enough to make people whole. I mean, maybe you get 50% back if it's great. Maybe you get less. Maybe it takes years. There's so many things that go on with this that just cause so many problems. So that's the big question right now. Will this Genesis bankruptcy be flowing over into Gemini? It already has the Earn program. They have problems there. That's frozen. I think you can't withdraw if you have your money in the Earn program. It's all frozen. I think their other side, their like custody and exchange side, is fully working. But the big question now is, will the Earn problems flow over into the normal business? Because then everyone's affected. Then everyone can't get their money and withdrawals freeze, and you have much bigger problems then too. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But it is the possibility, and it's been a possibility for many months now, and people have chosen to ignore it and say it's Gemini, they're reputable, it's perfectly fine, nothing will ever happen. And then something like this happens, and now it's like, oh my God, we might lose all of our money if it's in Gemini. So just like everyone's been saying for months and months and months now, take all of your money off of any exchange, put it in self-custody. You don't want to have any exposure to exchanges right now. Nothing can be safe on an exchange. I don't care if it's Gemini, Coinbase, Binance. I don't care who it is. Take it off. Put it in your self-custody so that you have your money and you don't have to worry about somebody else going bankrupt and losing your money. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video.